Hello, I'm Mary Thompson, and welcome to Scottish Summit 2021. Today, I'm going to be sharing a really exciting presentation with you about how to empower SMBs using D365 Business Central and the Power Platform. Before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to our lovely sponsors today. We have ScriptRunner, DQ Global, of course the amazing Proximo 3, Redspire, Agilicis, and Hitachi Solutions. Few housekeeping things. I'm Mary Thompson. I work for Bamboo Cloud, previously known as CPIT. My official role is the Dynamics Angel Guru, which is just a fancy way to say that I work in the partner-to-partner relationship, helping empower other businesses to get started on Business Central. If you'd like to find out more about Business Central or watch some of my easy-to-do tutorials, you can find me on YouTube under Mary Thompson, and also love to have all the followers on Twitter at mm090511. Before we get into things, I just want to give one more shout out to say, let's make this event go viral. I know it was super trending last year, but let's make 2021 even better. So go to all your social medias, whether it be Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, post about how much fun you're having, and make sure you hit that hashtag of Scottish Summit 2021. Awesome. So today we're going to take a look at what is Business Central. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the different components on Power Platform as well. I'm sure many of you are aware of all the different components, but you know what happens when you make assumptions. So we're going to take a look at what all is involved. I'm also going to show you what it means to connect Business Central to the Power Platform. And then the most exciting part is showtime, when I'm going to show you my demo that involves Business Central, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, Power Virtual Agent, and Power Portals. So really excited to get to that as well. The first really cool thing that I'm going to talk to you about is Dynamics 365 Business Central. And this is truly a product that's after my own heart. I really love the way that this program enables small businesses to really compete with other enterprise level solutions. Fun facts, SMBs actually make up 90% of the total GDP here in the US. So it's a really important market to be paying attention to. Most people are more familiar with other programs such as QuickBooks or maybe Sage, NetSuite, but with the huge market share that's out there, you didn't really think that Microsoft was going to let everyone else have all the fun, did you? Absolutely not. Business Central has been around for about 3 years. It came out in April of 2018. Some people may be more familiar with its predecessor, which was Navision. And actually, the first version of Business Central was the cloud version of Navision that was actually just rebranded. Some other fun facts: it is a fully, cloud-based system. So what that means is you don't have to worry about servers or VPNs, all those really annoying things that are attached to other programs. And it's just very user-friendly. It includes artificial intelligence and a lot of other things that are really geared towards SMBs. The Business Central ecosystem is part of what makes this product truly special. As you can see, everything sits right on top of the cloud inside of Azure. So it's also linked in with a common data service. Because of that, it means that it plays really nicely with all the other Microsoft ecosystem products as well. You can see that because it's integrated with Office 365, it makes it easy to have this Outlook Customer Manager, which means that you can do fun things like send invoices or create POs, and anything that you need to do inside Business Central, you can actually do right inside of Office 365 Outlook. Additionally, it plays really well with all the other D365 areas such as CRM. It's very easy to integrate in there as well. And we can take all of this data from Business Central from here and throw it into here into the Power Apps, which is where we're going to take a look at today. Also, you have access to like over 260 different apps inside App Source as well. So it means it plays really well with everything else, and you don't have these siloed systems like you're used to with other programs such as QuickBooks or GP, things that are maybe more on-prem. And because it plays really well with the Power Platform, what that means is that some of those limitations that maybe you typically have within a ERP system, a small business, instead of having to go through lots of customization and integration, they can actually just create a Power App to help enable them work past that roadblock. And we'll take a look at that a little bit later. All right, so the Power Platform, right? We've got many different components. You've got Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent, which we'll take a look at. All right, so let's start off with Power BI. Basically, Power BI is a really awesome way to create dashboards and charts of your data and make your data really mean something. As we looked before, all your data sits in the Common Data Service and ensure it's kind of like a holding cell. But it really doesn't do anything for us if we can't really get good information or an idea of what those numbers mean to us. So Power BI is able to connect to any data source throughout that system, as well as additional ones through custom APIs and different connectors. There's actually lots and lots of connectors that it automatically connects to, and then you can also create custom connectors as well. And then you can also leverage Azure data services like Data Lake, and also connect to SQL data server warehouses to kind of optimize that big data field. All right, now we're going to take a look at Power Apps, which I absolutely love and is where I first got started in the Power Platform. So what's a Power App? It's an easy to build, low-code app that you can either use on your phone, on a tablet, or even on a computer. You can exist to your connecting data, or by using some of the out-of-the-box connectors that I've repeatedly mentioned, or you can also create your own custom connectors. You'll see a common thing there, and that's really important. It means that there's lots of options that are already available to you, and if that's not enough, you can create your own. One thing also that we'll take a look at, sometimes I think is a little bit overlooked in Power Apps, is that you can actually create a portal that allows either internal use or external use for your clients to be able to kind of come in and get access to their information or your information very easily without having to get some fancy website designer to help you. Then we also have Power Automate, which is low-code automation. And basically, I like to think of it as making my job easier. The more things that can automatically happen, the easier and more efficient your job is. So this is really important to SMBs, especially since you often have maybe one person that's wearing many hats and has to do a lot more work than an average person. So the more stuff that can be automated for them, the better. Additionally, it's really nice. Here in the system, we'll take a look at some templates for approvals, which again allows small businesses to kind of have that big enterprise feel without having to pay that enterprise price. We have lots of different connectors, as we mentioned, across the other programs as well. And you can also extend the flexibility or the capability of Power Automate by using Pro Dev extensibility, again with Azure and custom logic. One of the newest kids to the block, or part of the family, is the Power Virtual Agent, which is a low-code chatbot. And what's the most powerful about this is you can literally get up and running with a chatbot within minutes. If you can write a story, if you can write some messages, then you can create a Power Virtual Agent. And it's really nice for your customers that they can escalate to human agent with needed. So sometimes you're just not getting anywhere with those, and instead of getting looped into sending an email, you can integrate it with various systems so that it'll escalate to human automatically. Also, it can be published anywhere. You can put it on your phone, you can put it on Twitter, you can put it on your custom website, anywhere you want it to be. You can put it there very, very easily without having to write the code. You just kind of go in and copy and paste some stuff and then post it where you want it. All right, so we've got Business Central, we have the Power Platform, but they're actually truly so much better together. And in order to get there, we have to know how to connect them. There are two ways to connect Business Central to the Power Platform. So the first way we're going to talk about is the Business Central out-of-the-box connector. So it's already there. It's been around for a while. It has some pros. Super easy to work with. Literally, it's just what we'll call plug and play. But it definitely has some limitations. So there's this thing, it's called delegation. It means how much work does the system need to do? And I find a lot of errors working with this. So I've been kind of playing with different solutions with Business Central and the Power Platform for a couple years now. And honestly, I've been waiting for it to get better and to kind of catch up with other things like CDS plays really, really well. Or the Common Data Service plays really well with the Power Platform, and you have a lot more options, and that's just not really relevant in some of the standard tables that are currently available in Business Central. So recently, they actually came out with this thing called Business Central Virtual Tables, and that is the second way to connect Business Central to the Power Platform, and it is my most current favorite way to connect. One of the apps that I'm going to take a look at and show you was actually not possible using the regular Business Central connector because there were some delegation issues, and then I had to do some collection things, and I couldn't get it to work, quite frankly. I spent several months in all the forums trying to find a way, and nobody really knew how to help me. Then finally, I saw a situation where it said that I could connect to the virtual tables, and finally, after months, literally months and months of trying to get one app to work, I was able to make it work because what the Business Central virtual tables do is actually makes it work just like if you were working with other Common Data Service connectors. So the Business Central connector, like I said, super easy to find. It's the standard connector. Two different ways that you can find it is if you just go into make, I think it's like make.powerapps.com, you will see it here under your data, right, to where you can connect. We see the connections, and then you see here that we have it available. So you see my name attached to all of these, and that just means that it's already linked to my environment. It's really great though because it does have some standard templates that we'll look at, that all you do is kind of plug in which environment that you want it to do. The inputs that you have to put are super minimal, so it's very easy to get started with that. Over here in Power Automate, we also have the ability to connect to Business Central very easily under connectors. We see in both scenarios, actually, you can connect to Business Central in cloud, or you can connect to on-prem version. Although I hear there's a lot more limitations with on-prem. Personally, I don't have any experience with on-prem because I love the cloud solution, and I don't know why you want to be stuck on-prem. But that's just my personal preference. So the difference is when we kind of look at these, this is the standard connector. When I say that I think that you have more options with Power Virtual Tables, this is why. This is a standard connector. You can see that we've got just some light areas like when a record is changed, when it's created, and then you have several different like approval journals. And it's honestly frustrated because a lot of these connectors I don't know, they don't really seem to work. I get error messages when I want to use them, so I'm very limited in what I can do in this. But here in the Common Data Service connectors, you see that you have a lot more options. So I don't know about you, but I don't really like to be limited. I want to play with everything. So if I could have this many options, that would be really great. And that's exactly what Business Central virtual tables allow us to do. I think we'll take a look a little bit on how to actually connect to the Business Central virtual tables because it's pretty cool and super valuable. But kind of where you start is you go into App Source and you download it. It goes right into your environment. From there, what you do is you enable it in Business Central, and then what you do in CDS is you go to the table that says Available Business Central Tables. That's what we see here, right? Available Business Central Tables. And then you can see, maybe very small here, a list of all the tables that are available in Business Central. Also, if you create like custom tables or custom APIs, they will all be listed here as well. So then you can play with them in the, what I'm going to say, in a Common Data Service, more flexibility style. All right, so I've kind of given you the background of Business Central, why it's really important to SMBs, and we've taken a high-level overview at what all of the different Power Platform family members are. So now it kind of brings us to almost showtime. So I'm going to lay out kind of the story that we're going to look at here. If you've ever met me or know anything about me, you may know that I'm kind of obsessed with this concept called #WorldMax. It's a concept that, or it's a personal mission that I'm on to empower as many people as possible to reach their maximum potential using the Power Platform. And that's actually why I have this little P squared up here. It's whenever you take something to an exponential power, it grows at an exponential rate. So I think that that's what can happen when we have the Power Platform. With that being said, my case study here is around an SMB called WorldMax that's working to empower people around the world by creating tech centers and helping them digitally upskill and learn the Power Platform, and also gives them a sense of community like we all share and love here in the real world as well. This company sells technical equipment such as laptops, Xbox, that type of scenario, and they also sell furniture. Basically, they sell everything that is needed for a customer or a potential customer to start up their own tech center. Over here in my little picture, this is my dear friend Koban, and we are standing in a tech center that I actually helped us set up in a local women's shelter with the help of many community members who donated time and resources to get it up and running. So it's part made up and part real, and all very dear to my heart. All right, so now we're finally there. It is showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Like I promised earlier, and I'm super excited about, is we're going to take a look at a Power App. We're going to look at a Power Automate template. We're going to look at a Power BI. We're going to look at a Power Virtual Agent, and we're also going to take a look at Power Portal. And all of that is really powerful. All right, so first up on our list, we're going to take a look at my Power Portal that also has my Power Virtual Agent attached inside of it. As we can see, my bot auto started and says, "Hello, I'm Max. I'm one of the many maximizers here at WorldMax. And are you interested in starting a tech center?" I'm going to say yes. Epic. Okay, so where do you want to start? You see my chatbot's interacting with me, a potential client. I'm going to say, I need some tech equipment. And then it says, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a laptop. So now what it's going to do is it's actually using a flow that is going and grabbing the information inside Business Central to take a look at what type of laptops we have, how much they are, and how many we have in stock. So we see here that it automatically returns this information. And this is really awesome for a small business, right? Because that was in just a few seconds. This was a call that didn't have to be made. And now as a customer, like we're in a I want it now type of world. So instantaneously, I have the information that I need to get out of World Max in order if I'm curious and want to place an order. Switching to my customer service rep hat, I've got an email from my good friend Belinda Allen, and she said that she wants to order some laptops because she's going to start a tech center in South Carolina. So we'll go ahead and put in her information here. And we ran her credit check, and she is solid in her credit financial situation. So she actually has, let's say $2,500 is her credit limit. And I'm going to kind of come in here and I'm going to put in her information. And we're going to take a look and we're going to put this is in Charleston, South Carolina. Perfect. Okay. So, but before I can enter any invoices for this customer, I actually have to get it approved. So what I'm going to go in here is I'm going to do request approval. I'm going to hit a send approval request. After I send my approval request, I'm going to have to wait for an email. We pretend that it's not coming directly to me, but that it's in like a normal business process flow. So I'm going to see in here, right, that a new customer is created and Belinda Allen needs to be approved. There's a credit limit of $2,500 and the payment terms are for 1 month, but if she pays within 8 days, she gets a discount. And if we take a look at the customer card here, we'll see that all of this information is listed right in here. And this would give, you know, maybe the approving manager the right concept, right? If I set a credit limit for $2,500, but you know, maybe it was net 90 terms, then I might decline that. But for me in this situation, I can say that this is enough information, and so I'll say approve and go ahead and submit that. So we see that that's going to approve. And again, my flow is all just synced to one person because it makes it a lot easier to do so in a demo environment. But now we can see here, right, the same information. So as you can see, it also says Microsoft Flow because this template or this email approval system is all going through Power Automate. So now I can make sure that I put in an order for Belinda. But also I'm going to put on my manager hat and say, okay, well, I see that we got a new customer and that she's based in South Carolina, but I wonder if that's a good place for our, you know, tech centers to be. So I'm going to scroll down to my fancy Power BI report. And I'm going to, this is a little bit small for me, so I'm going to take a look. I could scroll in here if I wanted to, but I'd like to see the big report because I like big pictures. I'm a big picture type of person. Actually provided by my buddy Vince Liberatore from Microsoft, and he's actually in the white space sector and taking a look at how much, you know, broadband is available and how much is used. So in our use case here, you know, this is very important. If I'm building tech centers, I want to have a good understanding of where there's data and where there's not data. So as you can see here, I've got this nice map and it's all color coded. I've got my, you know, key up here, and this is the availability range is what I've got coded. Purple areas obviously being not very used. or does not have a lot of availability in there. But when we scroll down, we're going to see some more information as well. So if I look down in here, right, we identified that Belinda was from Charleston. I'm not sure if that's exactly where she's going to put it, but we can see, oh yeah, there's definitely some areas here in South Carolina that are quite low in the broadband availability range. And these are the areas that we really want to reach with these tech centers, right? People that maybe wouldn't normally have that much access to whether it be Wi-Fi or digital upskilling. As a company at World Max, this is something that's really important to us, that we have an idea of where our customers are at and how much overall impact we're making in the bigger world. So I can see here, this is pretty cool. So if I hover down here, I can highlight this, and it's going to tell me. I can take a deeper look here, and it says, in Orangeburg, while they have about 41 to 60% of people have broadband, only about 19% are using that availability, or I'm sorry, only about 19% are actually using that. So that means that it's there, but maybe people don't have a lot of access to it. So that would be, I can look at there and, maybe reach out to Belinda and say, where are you putting, the tech range? Is it going to be in Charleston, or is it going to be in Orangeburg? Do you have any contacts in Orangeburg? What does it take to get there? Because depending on where you are, it's kind of hard to set up businesses around the country, or around the world for that matter, if you don't have a good connections and good community local ties. So understanding for World Max where their clients are and what they're currently dealing with, that atmosphere is very important to my case here. So this is our Power BI report, and we can see that this is very valuable to me as an SMB to have all of this data, right? And all this is, it's a really big, giant, ugly data spreadsheet, just giant Excel spreadsheet that doesn't really mean anything when it's just in columns. But when I can take a look at it like this, I can very easily see where it is that I want to conquer the US. So now I'm going to kind of put on, I put on my manager hat, I put on my customer service hat, and now I'm going to put on my accounts receivable, my collections hat, right? And we're going to take a look into a Power App that I created. Because, while I absolutely love Business Central, one of the things that it doesn't do really great is kind of help somebody keep track of different notes on my customers that owe me money. And in an SMB, that cash flow is incredibly important. And, I really wanted to be able to create a solution that helped just an average, SMB be able to keep track of that. So I created to help my accounts receivable person manage, their workload better and keep track of the notes that they take and have everything kind of in one manageable place. I've created this Power App here to kind of help manage that. So you see we've got it labeled, these are the people that need to pay up. And this is actually just a gallery of the aged accounts receivable report inside of Business Central. So we see that we've got a total of $78,000 for all of the outstanding invoices. And then these are all the different customers, and this is what they owe. So we're going to take a look at this customer, Susie Smith, who looks like she owes us $2,200. If I come in here, right, this is actually a new screen. And what I've done is I've included a table. This was the delegation issue that I had earlier, because instead of having what this is here, this is a list of all of the invoices. But I wanted it to be filtered so that the customer number, that these invoices would only show for this customer invoice instead of all of them. Inside the standard Business Central connector, I couldn't do that. When I pulled this table out and added it as the virtual entities, then I was easily able to get this to work. So that's what I did for this one. So you can see now that this is what they owe. So let's say I've called Susie and she said that she is getting paid next week from a loan payout, and to call her back for payment on, let's say, 3/1/2021. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to submit my notes, and we saw some dots go across the top here. And now I'm going to navigate to my SharePoint site, right? Because I've actually got this listed back to a SharePoint site. So now I can easily have a list. This is my AR notes. And so I've got my customer. I've got, it tells me whenever I talk to this person, so I can keep a record. And then it told me the notes that I have here as well. So I can say, okay, when I, maybe next week, whenever I go to look at all my collections again, I can come back and say, oh, Susie Smith said I need to call her on 3/1, right? So then I'll remember to go back and call her on that date. Inside Business Central, and when I look at this customer, there's no way to kind of keep a list of my outstanding invoices and notes against that customer really in one place. I can keep notes and I can run my report, but they don't really run together. So this way is kind of a nice way to be able to do that, and then see an easy listing of those notes as well. And then of course I could always export this to Excel and be able to work off of that. So that was taking a look at a little Power App that we created as well. So right now, let's take a step back. We've looked at our Power Virtual Agent, right? That was Max, that helped us to understand as a customer, what did I need? Or what was I looking for out of my company? And then that was tied into my Power Apps portal, where because a Power Virtual Agent can live anywhere. Then I went ahead and I put on my customer service hat, and I created a new customer, my good friend Belinda, but that had to be approved by a manager. So we used Power Automate to set up some really nice, easy workflows to make sure that everyone's up to date. And because we had that workflow, it also notified my manager that we had a new customer, so that they could take a look from a business perspective and analyze where our customers were, and take a look at the Power BI report. And then we also put on our collections hat and used Power Apps to be able to kind of create a better solution that out of the box Business Central can't do. So I promised you a demo with all of the solutions, and that's what we just took a look at. Now I'm going to take a quick look under the hood at some of these scenarios, that you can kind of see what I've done. So this is our very easy bot that I have created here inside of our Power Virtual Agent. And so, this is the trigger phrase that I've got started for the Power Virtual Agent. Then it says epic, right? This is just a conversation. Where do you want to start? Well, that's a question, and then I have furniture or technical equipment, if you remember that. From there, I have it saying that either I want to go to furniture or technical equipment. And you can see that here I've got a Power Automate that I created that gave us a variable that is then passed down to here. It's very easy to use Power Automate with Power Virtual Agent as well. We'll take a look at this flow super quickly. But all I did, right, was I said I had an input, and that was my laptop receiving information. Then this is where I was able to tie in the Power Virtual, the virtual tables as well. So I said I want to use items. And then in here I said, give me all the items that have anything that came from this scenario here. So this last area, you can see that I called it a laptop, receivable. So it's like, tell me what kind of equipment are you looking here? So I said use the entire response. So anything that they told me here, put it into this variable. Then this variable is saying anything I want to look for what they wanted here. So that was a powerful query that I was able to do. Then from there, I'm going to initialize a variable, and I'm going to say that it's a string. Then I had to append that variable, and basically it means kind of saying, okay, what do I want to do with this information? What am I going to spit back out? So then this is where I identified my item, my price, and the inventory. So this is how it knew which information to get back. Then we kind of tie it back up into a nice variable that spits back out here. And so then that's how that flow was able to be created. And then I said, okay, this is what we have. And this is the ending of this flow here, right? So this has my laptop return, and that's what I put back in here into my Power Virtual Agent. If I take a look at my Power Apps portal here, this is how you can see this is the back end side of my portal. I was able just to kind of use some colors along the side here. And then, I put, this is called a carousel. You can see that I've got it listed here. It's got my different tabs. And then I've got my Power Agent here. But really under the hood is I've divided this into two different containers. One side being 8 pixels, I guess that's what you would call it, and the other side being 4, so that it totals to 12. And then we can see in here that I've listed my source, right? All I did was go and get some information. These are just pictures off the website, and I don't know how to code, so I didn't do any of this. I got an example from W3 Schools, which is just a website that gave an idea on how to do this. And I learned how to do my Power Portals from Victor Dantes, who's teaching a class right now. And then on my right-hand side, I'm going to come down here, and you see that I've got my web's chat. And this is how I was able to get it to auto start, because out of the box, a Power Virtual Agent, you have to interact with it first. But now there's some great documentation that allows you to just automatically start it. And so I went to Microsoft Docs and looked up that and copied, literally just copied all of that and pasted that here. And so I was very easily able to create a bot that we looked at here, right? That gives me all of the information. From a Power Automate scenario, if I take a look at my flows over here real quick, and this is actually just a really easy template. This is where I talked about going to the connectors. So one of the out-of-the-box connectors, and here is Business Central. And this is where I connected before. Then they have a bunch of templates. So what I did is I took a look at some of these out-of-the-box templates, and I used the one for customer approval. And when I did that, this is what it created. So I just very easily did plug and play, right? I said, this is my production environment, this is the company that I'm using, and I had it set so that anything that was over $500 needed an approval. Then it does this part where basically it gets that record, it creates the row ID, and then it pushes this row ID into this approval scenario. And then I just put all this information in here. This details, you can make it say whatever you want, because you have this dynamic, it's called dynamic content, and this is all the different fields that are associated on the customer card. So you can kind of just plug and play. Oh, look, I see a spelling error. A plug and play on the starting approval, scenario. If I wanted to add a link back into Business Central, I could, but I didn't feel like being that fancy. And then it just gives you condition, like if you approve, then I want you to do something. And all I really did was put in some information here. Then I identified the environment and the production, right? So the environment and the company name, and then put some emails, right? Just all of this, you just kind of plug and play. So that was all very easy to do there as well. Okay, so the last thing that I promised that I would kind of try to show you real quick was how to load the virtual tables, right? So I'm going to go to App Source, and then I get this now, and I get it now. And what that's going to do is that's going to take me to a environment. You'll download that. It takes about 10-15 minutes to download, and then once it's downloaded, if I go into my Power App Center and I change my tables to all, and I search this Business Central. So first, you point it to the environment by clicking on this Business Central virtual table. Oops, actually, let me go to here, because you have to make sure that it's enabled in Business Central first, right? So I just did AAD, and out of the box, this would say disabled. So you just simply change that to enabled. And then when I come into here, it allows me to identify if I want this to be, if I go to data and I click on Business Central here and I hit edit record, what it does is it brings me to the screen where it's going to tell me my target host, tells me the name, but here I can change this to either be production or sandbox, whichever I'm, working in, and then I can also set up the default company. So you would have to set this up if you're working in multiple companies. You would just create each one of these for each company. So that's how you direct it first to where it's going to pull the information from. And then if I come back here to my tables and I research this again, and I look at this available Business Central table, so I'm going to click on this. And then when I click on my data, this was that very tiny screen that I showed you in my picture. And I have all of the different tables that are available inside of Business Central. And again, if I had custom ones, I could put them in here as well. But you see where it says visible here? And a lot of them say no. But then here, lo and behold, we see customer, and that one says yes. We also see aged accounts receivable. That was the one where I tied my app to, and I said yes as well. If it doesn't say yes, then I can't use it as in the common data service, applications throughout the rest of the Power Platform. But how I do that is I just come in here and I'll click on it, and then I hit edit record, and then I change this to visible, and I hit save. And then now I can use that table instead of having to use a Power Platform instead of having to use a Business Central connector, I can actually just use it as a CDS, and then identify this as the table that I want to use with one of the CDS triggers or action. Well, that's a wrap here for me today. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend my session. I hope that you learned lots of new things and got some great ideas for your own projects. Don't forget that this video will be available on YouTube in the next 14 days. Also, make sure you hit up social media and share how much fun you're having at Scottish Summit, and make sure you use the hashtag Scottish Summit 2021. Thanks. Bye.